What's up, everybody? It's Coach Tony here, fighting for overtime. As always, you know the drill. Like, subscribe. If you're listening to this on replay, on podcast, I greatly appreciate your support there as well. We're in multiple areas here, multiple areas, which is great. A lot of different things planned, doing different things, trying different things, doing a little more of these live episodes to really foster home the community, as well as starting up a new call line that will be live probably in about 2 to 3 weeks, to where you're literally could be calling to the show just like you would do a radio station. Let's listen, because here's the thing, man. It's only audio, right? Maybe somebody wants to talk about their experience live on the air, so we're going to make that happen as well. Again, make sure you like and subscribe everywhere that you're finding. If you're on Facebook, unfortunately, sometimes I may not see your comments. Facebook is very interesting at times. Okay, so all I would suggest, if you want to get your comment on the show and you want me to read it for people that are going to listen to podcasts later on, just listen. Very simple. Go over to YouTube, just click on subscribe or watch it on YouTube, and then you can put your comment in there as well. You could try Facebook, but that's fine. Now, listen, I really, I know we've been talking about a whole lot over the last, I would say, 2 to 3 months. A lot of different stories, had some really cool guests on. Everybody sent me some great messages. I have a couple more guests planned, which is going to be really fantastic. Finally get to use the new studio set up behind me, which I can't wait to do, because I think that's going to be really interesting and captivating for the audience. But one thing I will say is, one thing about this show that I've told everybody is I talk about my personal experiences when I feel like it's time. And seeing some things not only across the timeline on Facebook and within the local community, but also from a national community, a lot of support groups that I deal with, a lot of different youth sports groups that I deal with, and seeing what some people are posting and questions, not just from the parents, but from the athletes themselves, has really made me think, wow, like we need to do a better job. And I want to read something in a minute that really provoked me into doing this episode. So I just want to let everybody know, this is full transparency. Like I tell everybody that this is an experience I'm going to talk about that happened to me personally. It happened to me about 2 years ago, and it happened locally. I have no problem telling you, what it was, where it was. We're going to go into all the details. I'm going to explain. A lot of people still don't understand the situation. A lot of people were giving their comments based on false information. So many different things. Okay. And I feel like I'm not doing this to put a spotlight on certain people and certain things, but what I'm doing is I want people to understand, especially right now, who are going through cut season, who are going through these things, the emotional impacts that it has, on the parent, on the child. But there's so many different areas of these emotional impacts that we're not talked about. And it sectors right into the mental health community. And I think I saw something real fast. I thought very interesting topic about why coaches should get mental health training. And I think it's a fantastic topic. And I'm actually reaching out to the person who wrote it to see if I can get them on the show and explain to them, psychologists, why they feel like that way, because I'm all with it, man. Like I look at a coach as having to dive deep inside the athlete, the parent, right? There's so many different areas they have to dive deep inside with. So I really looked at that and was like, you know what? I think it's right. So I want to read something that I saw the other night, and I'm not going to put this person name out there. I'm just going to read it. Okay. It was a post that I saw, and it really hit home because I start looking at comments and start bringing me back some memories about what happened to me and what happened to my family, when it comes to youth sports. Okay. And the post goes as this, and obviously this is from a coach. Okay. A very classful coach, I should say. Okay. Left the final cut out today. Can't begin to tell you how hard it is to let kids go. While I was so happy for the kids shrieking with joy about making the team, I couldn't help but feel heartbroken for those that did not. For all the parents who received a child today with tears in their eyes, please encourage your child to keep playing in the sport they love. I know the pain you feel seeing them hurt. The past few days are just one moment in time. The best kid today may not be the best kid next year. If others persist through determination and hard work. It takes so much courage to try out for a sport, especially a new sport. In middle school, in high school, whenever you start, when you are at your most awkward phase in life. Sometimes it can be empowering and course changing. Other times it can be humbling and humiliating. That's huge right there. It's a huge statement. So regardless if you made it or not, celebrate your accomplishment, bravery, sportsmanship, and effort. Know that experience does not define you, it teaches you. If you did not get the result you had hoped for, set out to make everyone realize that a mistake was made. Dry your tears, keep your head up, and persevere. Now, I want to tell you something. That right there, that right there is a true coach's statement. That right there is a true coach's statement. And I say that because I had a bunch of coaches coming up through my kid's career that had no idea how to make a statement like that, had no idea how to buy into something like that. You know why? Because they didn't care. They didn't care about the human element that goes into anything. All they cared about was themselves. That's it. They didn't care about the kids. They didn't care about anything. All they cared about was what was happening today, and that was it. And that right there just shows me that that person really wrestled with these decisions. That person took into account what these kids would feel, whether it's girls or boys, what they would feel when they got let go, what they would feel when they got cut. I can't explain it even more because I've dealt with it. I dealt with it as a coach. I dealt with it as a parent. But see, I dealt with it as a coach the same way this person dealt with it. I hit it head on. I had private conversations with the kids that unfortunately had to be let go. I had private conversations with the parents. I don't care how old they are. Can I explain that to you? I don't care if we're talking about a senior in high school or we're talking about a kid in elementary school. The brain works in mysterious ways, and you have a duty and an obligation as a youth sports coach. I don't care if you wanted it or not. You took the listen, you signed up or you took the oath to be that person. You need to own up to it. You need to own your experiences, and you have to realize how fragile that all the things that these kids are dealing with in any kind of school setting right now. And this happened 3 years ago. I mean, just with technology, just trying to fit in, right? All these different things, and you really, really have to take these into account. You really do. So this led me down the road that I told you before, fighting for overtime. Make sure you like, subscribe. You see the QR code right there. You could scan that. As always, take you right where all the content is. And there is the email, fightingforovertime@gmail.com. I know I have a lot of people that email me specific to stories and wanting to be on the program and things of that nature. Keep them coming. That continues to make these flow. But I told you before that I had a lot of stories to tell. And again, this isn't because I want to finger point. What I do is I want to raise awareness. I want to let people know what really happened because I don't like when people don't know the full truth of things, right? That's why we do multiple stories on different things to see if we can get to the true root, to the true cause of what really happened. Okay. And I'm going to tell you the story, and I want you, the audience, to be the judge because I was already judged prematurely on this subject. And then when those specific people called me and they said, "Oh, you know what? Guess what? I didn't know that." Of course you didn't know that because you jumped the gun right away. You hopped on your comments on Facebook, and lo and behold, it wasn't right, right? So here is, my personal story dealing with being left off the roster and, meaning my son, the local kid who got cut, which was my son. Okay, this is a true story, right? And now that he's out of that, I know he wouldn't mind me sharing it because like, listen, I think it set both of us on a spiral a little bit. Okay. And I do want to say this, and you people that may listen right now know who you are. I greatly appreciate when this happened. And this is going 2 years ago. Okay. This is going almost 3 years. Okay. But essentially 2 years ago, and the multiple people, the real ones, I call them, that reached out to me through text message, through that, through instant messenger, through direct message, and gave me their support and tried to help me through because they knew what I was going through. Okay, not the people that were writing cryptic Facebook posts on other people's feed, thinking I wouldn't see them, thinking I don't have friends, thinking you didn't screenshot them to me and show me. I know who you are now. I found out who those real people are, and I thank them people for it. I'm not mad. I'm just happy because now I didn't waste my time speaking to those people, knowing who they truly are. Okay, but the people that stepped up and gave me their support, amazing. You know who you are. I don't have to say it, but amazing, just amazing. And I want this to be that kind of community. Okay, this is what this is all about. So let me take you back. So for those who don't know, who may be watching this and aren't from the local area, I coached in Southampton, when it came to soccer. Got kicked out. That's another episode for another day. Legitimately got kicked out, even though I did everything the right way. Got kicked out. We'll talk about that another day. Went to Warminster and started coaching again, right? And obviously, it was when I was my son's coach, along with a lot of other kids right now that go to William Tennant High School or have graduated from William Tennant High School. Great kids, great school. When it comes to when it comes to academics, don't get me started on the athletics because I'm not a fan. But on most, I will give the props to the ones that I feel like they're great. But freshman year, my son, now my one son, my youngest son, because I have another story about my older son with soccer too, which is a joke. But my other son, who played soccer for me in Warminster, freshman, play soccer. We know the freshman experience, right? Freshman experience is like getting out there, right? You're basically with your friends. You probably have a coach that has no idea what he's doing. He's just there to be there. Doesn't really get it, right? Doesn't really get the only time you get recognized as a freshman is if the coaches on the upper levels want you. Besides that, nobody even gives a shit about the team. Very, very simple. Let's be honest, okay? That's what it is. I'm being honest. That's exactly what it is, in my opinion. Tell me I'm wrong, right? Tell me I'm wrong. I say the things we all think about but are afraid to say. So that's what I'll honestly tell you, right? That's why when they're fresh, they can't get a coach. Oh, we might have a freshman team. Do you think they really care? No. Okay. It's unfortunate, but it's true. So my kid's on a freshman team. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is what it is. Kind of like, he's like, yeah, it's okay. And after freshman year, he says to me, Dad, I don't think I want to play soccer anymore for school. I said, okay, why? What's up? And he was like, oh, you know what? I don't know. I just feel like I might want to do something different. I'm still going to play for the club. I just don't want to play for school. There's just certain things I don't like. And yep, not a problem. I always support my kids. All I do is ask why, right? I don't just go right away. Why? Like, are you doing it because you don't think you're good enough? Because let's have a conversation, right? But this had nothing to do with talent, had nothing to do with work ethic, nothing. It was, hey, listen, I think I want to try something different, right? At that time, he honestly was like, I may want to try basketball, right? There were certain things. So I started, okay, no problem, right? So he doesn't play soccer and he starts to train a little bit for basketball. I start reaching out to some people, asking, hey, what should I do for training? Where should I go? So now he before basketball starts, he gets a little minor injury, nothing big, right? Nothing big, but I think it scared him a little bit. And let's be honest. Sometimes when you have a little injury, whether it be your knee, your ankle, it scares you a little bit. You're thinking, oh, you know what? Maybe I don't want to continue with this, right? Not sure. So listen, you're a sophomore in high school, man. For Christ's sake, like at the end of the day, what is the big deal, right? Nobody knows. Sometimes I'm at 47. Sometimes I don't even know what the hell I want to do, right? So why are we judging these kids at 13, 14, and 15? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So, but anyway, fast forward. So he doesn't play soccer his sophomore year. Doesn't play. So he's still playing club. And then I won't bore you with all the minor details. So let's fast forward to about May. May of his sophomore year. He comes to me and says, Dad, I think I made a mistake. I said, why? What happened? He's like, I don't know. I think I probably should have played this year. I said, okay, why do you think that? And he's like, it just seems like the kids were having fun. Now, granted, it's because you have to understand that 75% of my club team, my club travel team, played at William Tennant with my son. So my son was hearing the story. He's like, he heard the camaraderie, heard the kids laughing, like having a good time. And I think you start to think like, maybe I made the wrong call. Maybe I made the wrong call. I said, okay, bud, whatever. You let me know what you want to do. I said, obviously this year has passed. I said, but I think you should give it a long, hard thought, and figure out what do you want to do next year? Because you can't just jump in August and say, I want to try out for soccer. Listen, man, I'm a realist. I'm a coach. I get it. You got to train, right? You lost a year, right? Even though you still played in their mind, in their sick and twisted mind, you gave up on the program, right? That's still looking for all those trophies for that program, but the program. So I said, look, I said, you just got to be careful, okay, that you don't wait too long in order to get, reacclimated and involved. So it's about Memorial Day. So I finally said, listen, before June 1st, bro, what are we doing here? What are you thinking? And he's like, I think I want to try out. I said, okay. Now great. Remember, they do things in the summer. And I will say this. Here's where people aren't going to like me, but I really don't care. So this is the real truth. So they do have things in the summer for selected kids. Selected kids. And I'll be honest with you. I am willing, anybody on my local friends list that's involved in that program, come tell me I'm wrong when it's only selected kids. Okay. I've been there. I've heard the talk. We're going to pick these kids and take them here. We're going to do this and we're going to take them here. Okay. You're going to make and here's to me, I understand what they're trying to do, but it doesn't work. Is when they make specific kids, those captains, okay, that are going to control the workouts. When some of them, it's a popularity contest. So unfortunately, it has nothing to do with the team. So what these kids do, they pick and choose who they want to invite and who they don't. Come at me and tell me I'm wrong because I know it's right. Okay. Unfortunately, nobody talks about it. Right. And I'm not singling anybody out. I'm just saying that the system to me is flawed because there's nobody overseeing it. And again, think about it, people. We're talking about the way your mental health gets impacted, as an adolescent here. So we go into this and it's like, why don't you start training? I think it's a good idea. So dad starts saying, listen, maybe you should do this, maybe you should do that. And y'all heard about the man U's, right? Now, here, I'll give you a quick backstory about the man U's for his art training. So when my older kid went to William Tennant and were playing soccer, all that they had to talk about was the man U's. Train for the man U's. Train for the man U's. Only certain people could do an X amount of man U. We're gonna have T-shirts for the man U's. We're gonna give awards out for the man U's. It was great. It was like, wow, like I have to train for something. This is what I'm training for. Can't wait to get there. Well, guess what happened? Eventually, when too many kids start breaking those records and doing the man U's, now it wasn't a big deal anymore. What the hell is that? Now it's not a big deal anymore? Like, how about clapping them up? Yo, this is fantastic. Wait, because here's something I'm indirectly going to give them praise. What you did was you had these kids develop a work ethic and give them something to strive for. That's what you did, and they did, which was fantastic. But no, you took it away. You took it away because now you could have your select people that would do the man U's that you could highlight to a different level, right? I know the games. I get it. And again, those people, I'm willing, as always, prove me wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. And because unfortunately, I know I'm not. Okay. I know I'm not. So my son goes out and he starts training, training for the man U's, doing some running, a lot of cardio. And the biggest thing I said to him was, I said, listen, dude, you got to bulk up a little bit. You got to bulk up a little bit. The high school game's a little different. Okay. You're going to play bigger bodies, bigger mature bodies. They're going to bump you off the ball. And right away, I could tell just, I love you to death, but you're not strong enough right now. You got to get stronger. I know you can do it. So he did. Worked his ass off, went to the gym, put on about 5 pounds of muscle mass, looked really good. Okay. Did good for himself. I was proud of him. With nothing else, I was proud of him. So fast forward to August. So it goes to August and goes to the tryouts. So I'm like, all right, bro. And I gave him the speech beforehand. I said, listen, dude, remember, no matter what, all the work you've done, everything get to this point, man, all you can do is give your best effort. That's all you can do. So he goes out day one. Now I'm excited just to see what he thought, right? And I'm gonna be honest with you. I was kind of curious to see if the coaches would say anything. Now, backstory, I won't say the person's name, but at that time, pretty good friends with that person. I thought I had a good friendship with that person. I thought I had a good friendship with that person. Obviously, I was wrong. I'll get into that later. Okay. So I'm thinking, like, oh, maybe he'll say something, just to say, hey, it's good to see you. Hey, it's good to see you back. Right. Now, granted, my son that's there, my other son was playing on this person's team. Okay. And my son that was there, okay, played for this person's team and, scrimmage games after before. So it's not like they don't know who my kid is. Okay. So I'm just saying they're not like, you don't think that like, it's not, how do I say it? It should be second nature for them to go up and have a conversation. That's all I'm saying. Right. When it's like if the person was injured or, or like my son went away for a year, right? Just to open up those lines of communication. To me, that's what a real coach would do. Okay. That's what a real human being would do. So it comes after day one. He's like, nah, they really didn't say nothing, but it was fine. Like I got out there. He's like, yeah, I was a little rusty, but I felt like I got into it later on. I was like, all right, cool, man. That's awesome. I said, hey, man, like I said, no matter what, do what you could do. So it goes back day two, comes back, and he's like, dad, I'm really nervous. Tomorrow's like first cut down day and this and that. I'm like, hey, man, listen. I'm like, how did you do? He's like, I think I did pretty good. He's like, and this time, even the coaches told me that I was looking better. I was like, that's pretty cool, man. Wow, words of encouragement, right? This is great. Like, I'm loving every minute of this. Like, my kid's on a different cloud. Like, he's thinking, okay, at least I know I've gotten better from day to day, right? So then day three comes. Now granted, day four is going to be the ultimate scrimmage game to where like they showcase people. Like if you get invited to the scrimmage game, you got a pretty good shot of making a team, right? So because they're out there, they're just kind of like feeling you out a little bit, right? Where you're going to play, things of that nature. Now, granted, these are 2 days, right? Morning and night. So now it's Wednesday, gets back. He's like, Dad, I made the cut, like the first cut. I'm like, oh, that's awesome, dude. I'm like, how'd you feel? He's like, good. He's like, I don't want to say the guy's name. He was like, Coach so and so was even like, hey, you know what? Yeah, they put me back on defense. He even told me, hey, AJ, look, you look good on defense too. He looks like you feel comfortable back here. And he's like, yeah, I played this before, and I'm getting my confidence in this spot, and whether I play on the wing, whether I play midfield, or even if I have to play striker, wherever. I always told my kids to try to develop different skill sets at different positions so they have that opportunity. So I'm like, all right, bro. I was like, that's really cool, man. I'm proud of you. Like you're playing different positions. It looks like you're smiling. You have a good time. So Thursday, goes to the scrimmage, comes home, everything happy, right? Happy. Now, please tell me if I'm wrong here, right? But usually that's a good sign, right? That's a good sign. But I also know that anything can happen, right? Anything can happen. So everything got leading up to this is a positive. Everything for the most part is a positive. So Friday, I'm thinking, man, this is cool. Hopefully he makes it. Sounds like he's got a leg up. Maybe all that hard work. And I even told him, here's the funny thing. This is what a lot of people don't know me, and this is what's great because they have no freaking clue. I specifically told my child, I said, listen, even if you make this team, I don't know how much you're going to play this year. Do I, how only because you might really have to prove your trust because you took that year off. Okay, just show that you're really committed. Like, yeah, they've seen you for 4 days, but they're going to want to see, are you commitment? Are you coming to every practice? Are you showing? Not, it's not about skill at that time. It's just showing about commitment and desire and passion, right? Are you respectful to your teammates? Like, this is all I gave them the whole freaking speech. I'm a coach. I'm a realist. I am harder on my kids than anybody else in the world. Okay, everybody who knows me understands that. So Friday comes. I go to pick them up and I pull up. Everybody knows it. William Tennant, pull up on the grass. I'm on Tennant's grass. I'm sitting there and I see him walking over and he don't look good. He don't look good. So I'm thinking, uh-oh, I hope he didn't get hurt. First thing I'm thinking, like, did he get hurt? Gets in the car. Now you got to remember, man, like, and I'm not going to embarrass him if he listens to this, but he gets in the car and he's visibly upset. And he tells me in a weeping voice, I got cut. So first thing I said was, wait a minute. Okay. All right, bro, are you okay? And he's like, I just want to go home. I just want to go home. So now I say to him, I was like, hold on. I'm like, so what happened? Like, what did they tell you? I was just asking, hey, bud, what was the explanation they gave you for being cut? Now, here's what everybody doesn't understand. I don't give two shits that my kid got cut from the soccer team. I don't care about him being cut. Cuts happen. I get it. I've done them myself. But here's the thing that set me off. Follow the whole story up till now. The thing that set me off when he told me the explanation was they told him, this is what they told him, and I'm going to get it as right as I can. I apologize if it's not verbatim because I may get a little angry talking about it or choked up, but they told him in no uncertain circumstances that they felt it wasn't in their best interest of the program for them to keep him because they didn't feel like they could develop him in 2 years. That they would rather keep a freshman that they could develop for 4 years. Listen to that. I'm sorry, son. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't think we're going to be able to develop you in the next 2 years. So, yeah, that's not going to work. Are you friggin' kidding me? I said to him, I was like, wait a minute. That's the explanation they gave you? Like, that's, and my son doesn't lie. Okay. And he was like, yeah, I just want to go home. I'm going to be honest with you. I sat in that car and I stared. I just stared in disbelief. I was absolutely dumbfounded by the explanation my kid was given for being cut because everything leading up to that showed none of that. And here's what really bothers me. And here's what I will battle anybody to this point. You knew on Monday he was a junior. You knew he was a junior on Monday. So if you didn't feel like you could develop him for 2 years, why the hell did you run him till Friday? Why? Explain to me. Why? Now, if you didn't give him that explanation, no problem. I would have not said a word. What does that tell you? To me, unless somebody tells me different, that tells me they had no desire to keep him on that team from the very beginning. Because you don't give an explanation like that. You don't give an explanation like that. That makes 0 sense. Because he didn't change classes from Monday to Friday. He was always a junior. He was always going to be in the program for 2 years. So you showed your hand right there and then. And that's what set me off. Now, again, remember what this show's about. Raising awareness in youth sports, real life, real people, real stories. Talking about the anxiety, the mental impacts, okay, in youth sports that I felt with personally. My sons, my family, everybody's felt with personally. And this is a true story. That's what I got. So listen, if anybody knows me, if anybody understands who I am, or I should say who I was at that point, you talk about anger, I was mad. I was very, very mad. I was mad because I have a kid who's upset. And there's more to this story, so just don't log off yet. But it was the way it was handled to me that really, really bothered me. I will say this again. I will continue to say it. If my son deserves to get cut, you can cut him 35,000 times. I don't care who you cut. If they deserve to get cut, they get cut. But remember how we started off this episode. A coach that handled it with class, whether he or she spoke to those individuals or spoke to the parents of those individuals and even put it out there like she did or he did, okay? That means a lot. That takes a lot. But that shows that you're a classful human being. You're classless when you don't do anything. That's my opinion. When you don't do anything. Remember, we're not talking about college sports. We're not talking about the pros. And even in the college sports, I look at, even on a pro level, I look at, these teams have they have team psychologists, sports psychologists for a reason. So they can talk to people. So they can they can include themselves into these conversations. So I look at this situation and I say, number one, I completely disagree with it with the way that I completely disagree with the way it was handled. Okay. So yeah, I went off. I went off on a different level. I was pissed. I was hurt. I was upset, right? Because you have to understand something. I still now have to go coach my team who's filled with William Tennant soccer kids who my son played with. I don't say that as a negative thing. What I'm saying is the emotional impacts, right? Even when I want to get rid of it in my mind, even when I want to say, I don't want to deal with this anymore, I have to. I signed up, I committed to this. So I'm going to have to hear the stories. I'm going to have to hear everything, even though I don't want to hear it. But you understand how hard that is as a coach? You understand how hard that was for me to not want to hear. I again, of course, I want to see the kids I coach be happy and enjoy what they're doing. But the same token, I want my own kid to be happy too, right? And again, if it wasn't handled this way, it would have been completely different. What do you think my kids wondered? What do you think any kid for that matter is going to be wondering? Am I good enough? What did I do wrong? Why so you're telling me I'm not good enough for you to invest in me? Had nothing to do with my workout regimen, had nothing to do with myself, just because they didn't feel like it was good enough for them to invest in. Are you serious? Are you dead serious? So that's one of the issues I had in the beginning was that. Now, number two, you have to remember when you're dealing with mental health with a youth athlete and even the parents and the coaches. Listen, man, it is a spiral that will continue if you're not careful. And obviously, these people didn't care because these people they knew. Okay, here's the second part of this. And you be the judge here and tell me if I'm wrong for thinking this, okay? Tell me I'm wrong for thinking this, but I went on a social media barrage. I'll admit it. I was pissed. I was mad. I was extremely I didn't know how to cope. I didn't. I'm going to be honest with you. I was extremely enraged because I was sitting at home with a child that was crushed, not because they didn't make a team, but because what was told to them. My kid wasn't crushed. Yeah, he was a little disappointed. Of course, you're going to be. But the crush part was you just killed this kid's confidence. You wiped it right out. Everything he worked for, you just completely wiped it right out. The kid was never the same player on a soccer field again, ever. You completely wiped it out. So I appreciate that. Thank you for that. Okay. I appreciate it because of the way you fumbled and you mishandled a situation that directly impacted me, my coaching, and my son. And I'm not proud of that, but it did. I'm being honest. It spiraled me to another level. And I think what really, really hit home to me, like I said beginning, you know, I went on this barrage. I had the William Tennant soccer page block me, right? All of a sudden they want to block me, right? So now I can't even see, just listen, you think I'm the first person that has a problem with that school or their athletics? You think I'm the first person? There's a long, I was in line. Let me tell you, I was in line, big ass line for that. I was in line. Okay. So when I look at that and I say to myself, that okay, so you want to block me from that? Fine, whatever. Like what are we 5? Okay. However, do you think at that moment, whoever runs that page, whoever runs that Facebook soccer page for William Tennant, do you think that person themselves or even if it's not themselves, maybe it goes to a higher power and says, "Yo, we have a little problem here." Like, because again, I was writing in there exactly the way I felt, way how way the situation was handled. Okay, things that were going on. Do you think somebody had the audacity to respect the class to actually reach out to me personally? And again, knew the coach pretty well, by the way. Do you think somebody would reach out to me personally? Right? I don't even care if they say just enough. No. So what they do is they resort to blocking me off a page. That's how they deal with the situation. That's again, I'm just letting you know real stories about what really happened. This is self-reflection again, fighting for overtime. I'm Coach Tony. This is what happened when my kid was left off the roster when he got cut from the local high school soccer team. Okay, this is the way I felt it was mishandled and what spiraled his psyche and mine as well, and until we had to learn how to cope. Okay, because I know there's a lot of people out there as well. So you see all the issues that are going on. So the way you handle it is let's block the person and ignore it. Fine. You want to block me? You want to ignore me? Fine. What about a 15-year-old kid? Right? What about a 15-year-old kid? Let's let you know what? Can I be honest here? Like I always am. I'm going to read you a couple things, okay? I'm going to read you a couple things. And this is from recent this year, okay? On messaging forums that I belong to, okay? For kids that are writing, I just got cut from my high school basketball team. I'm in shape. I came early to every practice, was giving me no explanation. This is making me so depressed. I don't know what I'm going to do. How can I overcome this? I got cut from my freshman basketball team. And then I got cut from my soccer team. I don't know how to cope. What do I do? These are what I'm a senior in high school and just got cut from my baseball team. I give so much of myself to play. I don't know where to go. I have nobody to talk to. I was giving no explanation. I am completely depressed. I don't want to leave my room. Now I'm reading you guys this stuff because this is the kind of stuff that is going on. And think about it. Again, everybody's psyche is fragile. So please understand your actions. Understand what you're doing. And I'm going to say this, I'm going to be real. I read you those messages, okay? Because what if my son couldn't overcome that? What if he didn't have help? What if he needed help? What if he needed somebody to talk to and he didn't have anybody to talk to? What if he came from a home where his parents were super busy, he didn't have any siblings, didn't have a big family, and he was looking for somebody to talk to and there was nobody there? God forbid, what if it led down a hard, deep road of depression that they can never come out of? What if that happened? Tell me it's far-fetched. It's really not. It's not. Okay? So again, not depressed because they got cut. Depressed because of the way the situation was handled. So when I was very vocal about the situation, like I said, I felt that would have got somebody to speak. And it didn't. All it did was get me blocked. Now, remember, I still have a kid who's going to school there. My kid's still going to school there. This is junior year. And you block the parent. What's very, very professional. Let me tell you, that school is so professional in everything they do. I gotta tell you, unbelievable. So unprofessional, so classless. They don't even reach out. What they do is they block me. And then one of the coaches who, on the staff decides that he's going to start putting out cryptic messages on Facebook with memes and quote images. And, I know what it was about. See, people don't think I have people that are friends with both people. So when I have specific friends of mine sending me these cryptic messages so I could see them, be like, yeah, it looks like you really struck a nerve. Well, I wasn't trying to struck a nerve. What I was trying to do is get somebody to talk. What I was trying to do is make somebody aware that I needed you to understand the impact that you had on my kid and myself, that I don't want you doing it to anybody else ever again. Right? I need you to understand that maybe you need to work on it. right? Maybe you need to work on it. And I will say this, and I'll continue to say this. This stuff doesn't affect you until it does. It doesn't affect you until it does. And I'm not that's not a bad thing. What I'm saying is like some people may be sitting there listening, like, I never had to deal with that. I had a great experience. You know what? Good for I'm glad. Like the more positive experiences these kids can have, the better. I'm all for that. Okay. But what's very disheartening is the numerous messages I got from people who had these same issues, the same problems over the years. The same message I got. What? AJ, my son came home and was like, there's no way he should have been cut. No way. Right? Like kids that don't even know the situation. And I want to get really personal for a second. Okay, because I think it's warranted. Okay. So at one time, before this had happened, there was a scenario where a specific coach whose son made a specific made a team, and a specific level team, and there was a lot of people who I think he thought at that time were his friends that were trashing him behind his back. And there were, again, you know how people are. It's just crazy, right? It's the world we live in. So me, being who I am, picked up the phone, called the person, and said, "Hey, man, you got a second?" I said, "Sure." And I said, "Hey, just wanted to check in, man, see if you were doing all right." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, I'm doing good. Why?" I was like, I heard, I heard you had to make a decision today. And I don't even know if it was your decision, but I know because you're one of the coaches, there's a lot of people talking, and I'm sure it's probably got back to you. Just want to make sure you're good, man. And I also want to tell you that I'm for your decision. I know your son, right? I know what level he plays, and I think he's fantastic. And I think he deserves to be on the varsity team. I don't care what anybody says. And first he said to me, he's like, "Oh, man, I appreciate that." I'm like, "No, I'm serious." Now I didn't have to do that, but I felt it was warranted because I was like, you know what? Maybe this dude's spiraling. Maybe his mental health is being affected. I don't know, right? So that was me. That's the same guy who decided not to reach out to me, by the way. Just throwing that out there. Whatever. Okay. Not to say I expect everything in return from people, but like I said, I would expect that if I had a relationship with somebody, that relationship, that olive branch was given back out, but it never was. Till to this day, it never was. So obviously I know where I stood that entire time, right? Which is fine. It's good for me. So I want to continue on with this because I think there's going to be a lot of learning benefits from this. And I mentioned that I still coached at that time the club team where a lot of these kids played. So you have to remember, I'm the head coach of a team that's 75% William Tennant kids. The same team that my son didn't make and was given a reason that made 0 sense. Okay, that I took personal, that spiraled me and my son, and he had to get over it. He didn't want to listen. He didn't want to go to practice. He didn't want to go to the games. He was embarrassed. He was embarrassed, right? He was embarrassed. You know why? Because in his mind, what they told him was he wasn't good enough to work hard. He wasn't good enough, right? Not from a talent level, but he wasn't good enough to invest in. How do you think that feels? If somebody says to a kid, if they just straight up say, "Yeah, I don't want to invest my time in you," what the hell do you think that feels? Or what, how the hell do you think that feels? That's not how you treat an individual. You don't treat an adult, let alone a child, that way. So basically, you explain to him that you felt that your time wasn't well off being invested in their time. So yeah, I understood. My kid didn't want to go. It took me a couple weeks to be like, "Look, man, you gotta leave that shit alone. I know it's hard. I know it's difficult, but we're gonna get through this together." Okay. And I got him back on that field. And the worst part was that was the worst coaching year I ever had. I apologized to the parents. My mental health was impacted tremendously. I couldn't do it. It was so tough for me. And shout out to my assistant at that time. He basically took over and I turned in to be like an administrative assistant. And it sucked. It absolutely sucked. I didn't get to witness not one, not one of my players' games, junior or senior year. That's going to change this year, by the way. I didn't get to see any of them. I was so distraught. I was so spiraled out of control in my own mind that I couldn't do it. I wanted to crawl under a rock. I was upset. I was hurt. And I was misdirected. I didn't know how to get over it. And again, I'm being honest. There are a lot of things at that time were going wrong. It just added to the situation. It was stuff to where, I go to therapy. My therapy picked up a little bit during that time. Um, there was a lot going on, man. There was a lot going on, and I took it extremely personal. I did. I felt like why would you knowingly want to do mental harm on my son? And if I'm wrong, I that's fine. Just tell me I'm wrong. They don't understand. Like, because there was a lot of stuff going on. I mean, was it something that I did? That's why I was asking myself, did I do something? Was because I'm the outspoken parent, the outspoken post. Is this something that, a way to get back at that guy? Right. Unfortunately, you think like it's terrible. You think that way, right? But I'm being honest. I went through these scenarios. I constantly went through them, and I didn't know what to think or what to believe. But all I knew is I had a kid whose confidence was completely shattered. A kid who was questioning himself as a person at that time. I got the hiccup sound. Questioning himself as a person, but also as a player. And again, that was one of the hardest situations that I had ever had to deal with. And I see the parents now that have to deal with it. And all I will say, and there's going to be a backdoor positive to this that I'm going to get to about how this situation ended up. But what I will say is, I started off by saying that I feel like coaches need mental health training. I think, especially if you're in a school setting, if you're a coach for a local club, that's maybe a little different. It's up to the club, right? It is. It's up to the club, and I still would advocate for it. But I do think that if you are a coach for any kind of elementary or high school sports organization, you should have mental health training. Understand the psyche of an adolescent teenager. Understand how the mind works. Understand what could impact them. Understand what could spiral them. Understand that your words have meaning. Understand that your actions have meaning. Understand that everything that you do is going to impact them, whether it's positively or negatively. I really think that should be the case. Now, luckily for me, I hope, number one, I hope that clears things up. Now, I know there's going to be people that creep around and watch this that aren't going to tell me they watched it. I know there's going to be people that creep around and listen and are not going to tell me they listen, which is fine. I have no problem with that. But a couple of you people that are going to listen are probably the people that told me that I was acting ridiculously. People were telling me that was wrong, but didn't know the entire situation. Well, I've just laid the entire 45 minutes of the entire situation. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. And if you can explain to me that I am wrong, I'll shake your hand. But until then, I'm going to say that you're wrong. And you pass judgment on me very prematurely. Now, the backdoor positive of this thing was junior year. My son says, I think I'm going to go out for volleyball. So I was like, volleyball? Really? Now, I've never heard like nothing about volleyball. I've never even watched volleyball, right? So he gets into volleyball, and I'll keep this short. The best experience I have ever witnessed. I cannot I cannot say it enough. And I'm not asking people to back me, but I know specific people that will watch this have said the same thing. You know, so many 95% of the sports in high school are are rough. Okay. Or I should say 95% of the sports programs at Williamstown High School are rough. Okay. Now I don't know about the other high schools, but I could just talk about my own experience, my own local area, and it was terrible. Absolutely horrific. But when he got the volleyball, wow, what a game changer. What a game changer. I still don't understand how a coach can be so strict and demand so much and yet get kids to not hate him, but actually buy in and play extremely well. That guy ran that program like a collegiate program. And it was the best thing that ever happened to my son. It was the best thing that ever happened to me as a parent because he got to ride his junior and senior year and make some fantastic friendships, to make some fantastic memories, fantastic moments, and actually feel like he was wanted again and felt like he mattered and felt like, yeah, guess what, AJ? You had a coach that said you were worth the investment because you never played volleyball before. And you know what that coach did? He actually worked with you, he invested in you. Yeah, as a junior, he invested in you. Amazing, huh? Amazing how it changes when you actually invest in somebody, right? And all you have to do is change your methodology a little bit. Change the way you think. That's it. You'd be so surprised at how the result differs in a positive way. So for 2 years, I got to watch some fantastic games. I got to watch smiles. I got to watch cheers. I got to watch a total team effort. Man, was it fantastic. And God, whoever the guardian angel was at that time, man, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Um, I don't normally do this, and I'm not going to say this person's name, but I got a comment that just came in, which is awesome. And yo, man, you're gonna make me emotional, bro. Um, and the comment says AJ is crushing it. Great young man. Always takes time to say hello to me, regardless of when I see him. You and your wife should be super proud of him. I mean, listen, bro, that's a lot, because listen, I'm not gonna lie, you were one of those dudes that contacted me, right? In a positive way. You were one of them guys, and I always remember that because that was tough. That was tough, right? That was a very tough situation. Man, you're gonna make me cry on air, which is not good. Um, but yeah, man, like that was huge. And when these situations happen, you find out, unfortunately, who your real friends are not, I'll say. Right? You find out who your real friends are and who your real friends aren't. And I found that out real quick. Um, I want to give a quick shout out too to, again, to the people that jumped in my messages, and whether the text messages, the messages about, they get it, they understood it. It's a reason why I started this podcast, because I needed that at that time. I needed those people to be like, I understand what you're going through. This happened to me. And it didn't change the way I felt about the decision and the way it was handled, but it did change the way I was spiraling, right? It gave me an outlet. It gave me somebody else to say, wow, you know what? That's, what, somebody else is going through this too. It sucks. I hate it, but at least I know it wasn't just me. And I, again, that whole "you are not alone" thing, crazy, man. Crazy. So now, I mean, listen, that was 2 years ago. Unfortunately, I still have ill will. It's never going to go away. I still have ill will towards those people because I know what kind of situation they put me in that entire year, and it's something I'll never get back. And going forward, what I will say is it made me grow as a bigger person. It allowed me to be less angry at everything, and it made me really understand that as much as I want to believe that everybody has my kid's best interest at heart as far as a coach, it made me understand that I can't think that way anymore. And knowing that I was thinking that way, just knowing that just helped me get through further situations, if they became apparent. But the one good thing is it just showed me, and I'm gonna say this, and I don't care if people think it's cocky, but how unbelievable I was as a coach. And I say that I'm being honest because I did take all that in consideration. I took everything in consideration. I took how the parents would feel. I took how a child would feel. Took it all, man. I slept with it. I woke up with it. I lived it. It ate at me every single day. If there was a situation that I felt like I handled poorly, or there was a situation I had to handle that I didn't want to do, it oh my god, it bothered the hell out of me because I actually have a heart, right? I have compassion. I coach with compassion. I don't care if you tell me I'm right or wrong, but that's how I did it. I coach with compassion. I'm damn proud at the job that I did. I'm not proud of that last year. I'm not. I own up to it. And I didn't do well. But I'm being honest. What do you want me to say? It was a tough situation. Um, but listen, it's over. I look back. In closing, I just want to say to all the parents and even the kids that may watch this, because I do have a lot of kids that watch as well, and I take a lot of grace to that because yeah, it's really cool when my former players will reach out to me and be like, "Hey, coach, man, I love what you're doing. Keep it up." Like putting that spotlight on kids and the way they're feeling. And people might not always like my delivery. People may not always like what I'm doing, or I should say what I'm saying, but there's a reason for it. And I hope they understand that, if I can help one person with this story, if I can help two people with this story, even better. Because I don't want people to go spiral like I did. I don't. I don't want people, and again, I can't stop this from happening. But what I can do is at least I say it all the time, bring awareness to it that it could happen. So at least, hey, maybe God forbid if it does happen to you, you can retract this episode. You can reach out, or you can just sit there and be like, hey, you know what? You know what? I remember hearing about this. You know what? I let me not get as angry. Unfortunately, this happened, and let me figure out a way to prop my son or my daughter up and move forward. So again, man, fighting for overtime. This was tough, and I tell you all the time, it's not just when I have guests on. Sometimes I do personal reflective episodes, and this was one that was needed. When I saw that comment this morning that I read in the beginning, and then again, I saw a lot of the messages on some of the forums that I belong to for coaches and parents and kids, and seeing so many depressed kids out there right now, not because they were cut, but what they were given, the message behind the cut. Again, what is the message? I challenge all the coaches out there. What is your message? When you cut a person, what message are you sending? Meaning, what are you sending them home with? Whether it's elementary, whether it's high school, doesn't matter. Please understand that your words and your actions have consequences. And they really do. So maybe prepare yourself for what you're going to say, and at least try to figure out the proper way to say it. That would be my best advice. As always, fighting for overtime. You can find us on iHeart. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us everywhere. Listen, Spotify, iTunes, you name it. if you are listening, if you have an iTunes account, if you have an Apple account, again, if you would consider going on, writing me a review, give me a rating, let me know what you're thinking. I have a couple really, really, really fantastic guests coming up in the coming weeks that I'm actually going back and forth with this week. Hopefully, I can have somebody. I can't wait till my first guest is going to be live in those two chairs right there. But again, this is all about helping, man. It's all about bringing awareness to the community about real stories, real opinions, or I should say real opinions, but real stories. I will say opinions because listen, a lot of this stuff it's real stories, but I offer my opinion based on the real story. So a lot of people, as always, have their opinions. So if you have a story coming up, fighting for overtime at gmail.com, don't be afraid to send me an email. Again, I've had multiple stories on this podcast that have been anonymous that people have wanted me to share that have been read. I do that all the time. I also offer you a mic, a voice, and a chair. If you would like to come sit in that chair and talk about your story. It doesn't always have to be a negative story. It could be a positive story. Unfortunately, there's a lot of negative stories when it comes to youth sports, and we're trying to help people through them. But I also have some really fantastic positive stories coming up that are some of them are tear jerkers. So I can't wait to share them with the audience. So like I always say, man, everybody have a fantastic evening. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll catch you back here next time. Fighting for Overtime is a Rise and React media production. If you're looking to start a podcast, if you're looking to get some direction, hit us up, let us know. We'll help you out there as well. Again, for everybody, enjoy your time, memories and moments, and keep fighting that fight. Continue to fight in overtime to make your kid have the best experience that they can have when it comes to playing youth sports.